Hello everyone, and today we're going to go over a few steps to try to resolve this infamous window bounce that happens on these later Mustangs. And oddly enough, it seems to happen on the passenger side more than the driver's side. Now for just a full disclaimer, the vehicle this is happening on, I went ahead and fixed it off camera, but I want to go through the exact same steps on my Mustang. And funny enough, mine was doing the exact same thing 3 weeks after I received it, so the dealership ended up replacing the window regulator. However, I'm going to show you a different method that may help. So our goal is to go ahead and take off the door panel, but first we got to take off all the little pieces, and we're going to start with our door handle trim. And you're going to see a little hole or divot right there where my finger's at. So I'm going to grab my 90-degree pick, hold the door handle open, and see if I can get my pick in there without scratching anything. And there we go, and then we just pull outward. And there we go. And now let me go ahead and get the rest of the trim out, and we'll go ahead and set that aside. And now we can go ahead and grab our 10mm socket and socket wrench, and let's go ahead and remove the upper trim panel bolt. And I went ahead and put an extension on my wrench just to make sure I don't hit anything with it. And go ahead and loosen it up. 50 threads later. Alright, well, let me go ahead and see if I can get it out with my hand. And there we go. So there's one. And now we can work our way down closer to the center of the panel so we can go ahead and remove our window control switch. And I'm using a trim removal tool, and I'm just grabbing in between the seams and just prying upward. And see if I can get this one towards the back. Alright, so that one's fighting me. Let me grab a bigger tool. There we go. Get a little more prying area. And get a little twist. There we go. So that popped right off. And then we'll lift the back up while lifting up the front. And there we go. And all you have to do is disconnect the connector, and that pulls right out. Very nice. And right behind that control switch, you're going to see a little bolt right there. And it's the same thing. We're going to use that 10mm socket and socket wrench. And we're going to use my extension again so I don't hit anything. And let's go ahead and loosen this one up and see if we can get this one out. And again, it feels like 50 threads later. Alright, I don't think I can get my finger in there, but I'll go ahead and grab a magnet. And there we go. So there's the second bolt. And for our next two fasteners, we got to work our way towards under the door. So we'll go ahead and grab a 7mm socket and our socket wrench. And let's go and remove those two retaining screws. And they're kind of a weird angle, so just kind of work with it. Alright, so there's one. And I'll go ahead and get the second one. And try to do it without dropping it. And there's two. And we'll go ahead and set those aside. So now that we have all the fasteners removed, let's grab our trim removal tool so we can go ahead and detach our door panel. Now I'm using the small one just to kind of get a little gap in between the door and the panel. Now I'll use my bigger one so I can get more prying area. And I want to go ahead and start with the top and then work my way around. And I should start hearing it pop right as it detaches from the door. So there we go, getting a little more. Go back to the top here. Very nice. Work my way inward. So it feels like I got them all. Now I should be able to lift this straight up. And alright, there we go. Now I'm not yanking this way because we still have items attached to it. So let me go ahead and grab the camera. Alright, so let's go ahead and start disconnecting all the electrical connectors. There's two of them. So there's one at the top. That comes right off. I'll see if I can pick up my camera while holding the door here. Bear with me. And I'll see if I can do it without dropping it. And see if I can focus in. So that connector right there, that's our last one. We'll go ahead and take that one out as well. Come on. There we go. And we'll go ahead and let that hang. And now we can work our way to the door handle where we need to remove one cable, and it's this one right here. So let's see if I can get my camera steady. And I'll grab some needle nose pliers, and I'll see if I can go ahead and pinch this little connection off, because this kind of attaches it to the door itself. So it's going to be pressing inward. I'm going to try to. And it looks like I can go ahead and pull this out. There we go. And now I'll go ahead and bring my camera back a little bit. Alright, there we go. And now we can go ahead and take that cable and take it right out of the door handle. And we'll go ahead and let that hang as well. So now we should be able to remove this whole door panel and go ahead and set this aside. So now we have access to the door speaker, which we need to remove. We'll start by disconnecting the connector. That comes out pretty easy. And then there's 3 bolts. Let me go ahead and see if I can bring my camera in, that way you can see what I see. So I got one right there, one right in the other corner, and right there. And all we're going to need to remove these is a 7mm socket and a socket wrench. And we'll go ahead and take these out. And this is going to be similar to the screws that are at the bottom of the door. So there's 1, and there's 2, and there's 3. And we'll go ahead and pop out this speaker. There we go. Yeah, so far it looks like it's in good condition. And we'll go ahead and set that aside. And now let me go ahead and grab my extra light. I want to go ahead and throw this in the door. That way you can kind of see what I'm kind of putting my hands on. Because when I get my hands in there, there's no room for the camera and my hands. So I'll get my little tiny camera in here. And there is the window regulator right there. So we got the connection that we need to take off, but that's what we're going to be working on. So I'll go ahead and take this off by going ahead and pressing on it and pulling downward. And there we go. So that came out fairly easy. And we'll go ahead and start by cleaning out the connector first. So this one looks like it's in pretty good condition, but we'll do the same steps. We'll go ahead and blow it out with compressed air just to make sure there's no dust or debris on the connections. Now we can focus on the window regulator, because if you look right there, we have those pins. And unfortunately, those pins can be subject to a lot of condensation, which could be a root cause of some of your bad connection issues, which is causing the window to go up and down. So the first thing we're going to do is go ahead and clean them, and we're going to use some IPA or rubbing alcohol and some cotton swabs. I'm going to go ahead and douse one of the swabs with some alcohol, and then we'll go ahead and start by cleaning each one of those pins very carefully. Now you don't want to be too rough because those small pins can be bent very easily, so be very gentle. And 2 should be good. So now this is the very important part. We're going to go ahead and apply some dielectric grease just to keep moisture out of this area. And the first area I'm going to apply it is towards the back of the connector. Now you would think this area is waterproof and no moisture would get in there, but unfortunately it is what it is. So I'm going to apply a hefty amount behind the wires just to kind of make sure there's no moisture that works its way up. And it's not going to hurt anything by having too much, so you're going to see me apply a nice hefty amount. And a little bit more in the center. That's not too bad right there. Okay, so it looks like we got everything covered. Now here's the area you got to be a little bit careful. I'm going to apply a little bit on the edge of the connector. Now you're going to see me just go ahead and smear it on the edge because I'm going to have and work my way in. See where that gray gasket is? That's pretty much the area I want the dielectric grease touching. I do not want it touching any of those metal pins that you see exposed because that's going to cause you serious connection issues. But I want to work my way around that because I want to provide a nice waterproof seal. Now I'm only doing the edges because once you press this connector back on the window regulator, it's going to push this dielectric against this gasket, so it's going to give you a lot better seal. So now let's go ahead and start putting everything back together. We'll start by reconnecting the window regulator. And I'm going to try to be a little bit careful because I want to smear any of that dielectric grease I have on it. Alright, so that was pretty easy. Go ahead and do a test run. Alright, looks pretty good. And we'll do one more to be safe. Yep, looks pretty good. So now let's go ahead and put the rest of the items back together. We'll go ahead and reinstall the speaker. So we'll go and put it the exact same way we took it off, have the connector facing each other. Hold that in, and I'll go ahead and put in all 3 of those screws. I'll just go ahead and start by hand threading them. And alright, so there's 2, 3. Now I'll grab my 7mm socket and socket wrench, tighten them all up. And now we'll go ahead and torque these down to 22 inch-pounds. Now for those of you who don't want to torque it down, you don't necessarily have to, just do it till it's snug. But I want to show you the torque specs just because we like to do our due diligence. So that's nice and snug. And then we'll go ahead and reconnect that connector. Oh, very nice. And now here comes the fun part. Let's see if I can go ahead and reattach everything while holding this door panel with my knee. So I'll see if I can get it in place. Alright, now we'll go ahead and start by reattaching the latch cable. And we'll start by feeding that cylinder right up the slotted area. And I'm going to have to move the camera just a little bit. Switch hands. There we go. And now I'll go ahead and pull on the cable and press it right in that slotted area, and you should hear it snap. And that sounded pretty good. Give it a little push just to be on the safe side. Alright, and yep, looks pretty good. Give it a little pull. Yeah, that's not going anywhere. Now let's go ahead and reconnect our electrical connections. Start with the door lock. Very nice. We'll do our gray one up top here. And it's kind of weird just based on the angle, so just bear with me. And there we go. Got a nice little snap. Now we can go ahead and fully attach our door panel. Now I'll go ahead and start by hanging it from the top. And it should hang on its own if you get it right and hooked in the right area. And yep, that looks pretty good. We'll get the connector for the window switch out. And we'll go ahead and start popping everything in. All you gotta do is press on it. And that was pretty easy. So now we can go ahead and start installing those retainers from the bottom. And I'm going to use my 7mm socket. I'm just going to start by hand tightening these. These are actually really easy. So get that nice and snug. So there's one. We'll get the second one snug. And then we'll go ahead and torque those down to 13 inch-pounds. So that one felt pretty good. One more. And there's number 2. And now we can go ahead and switch to our 10mm socket and socket wrench. And I'll throw my extension on there. And we'll go ahead and install our center trim bolt. And I'll go ahead and use my finger to guide it. And I'll go ahead and start tightening this up. Alright, get it nice and snug. And then we'll torque this one down to 48 inch-pounds. And yep, that had a nice good click. And since we're right here, let's go ahead and install our window control switch. We'll start by going ahead and installing the connector. Get a little pressed. There we go. We'll go ahead and feed the wire in there. We don't want to go ahead and pinch that anywhere. And we'll go ahead and start by pressing this right down. We'll start with the front. So I'll try to line everything up, and we'll just go ahead and press downward. So there's the front. Let's see if we can get the middle. Very nice. And then the very end. Looks pretty good. And for our very last bolt, we got our upper trim bolt. So same 10mm as earlier. We'll go ahead and see if we can get in there without dropping it. Very nice. Fit it by hand. Tighten her up. Get it nice and snug. And then we'll go ahead and torque this one down to 48 inch-pounds as well. And there we go. Got a nice little click. And now we can go ahead and pull on our door handle and go ahead and reinstall our trim. So all we got to do is feed that right in place and give it a nice little push. And very nice. Fits like a glove. And of course, anytime we work on our vehicle, we always got to test it. So go ahead and test all our window operations. So alright, closing the door made it go up. Opening it made it go down. Very nice. I'll go ahead and start the vehicle and we'll go do our normal test. Alright, looks good. Windows going down. And now, yeah, windows going up. So far, this solution has been very promising. The vehicle I worked on was a 2020 Mustang EcoBoost, and it hasn't had any issues in months so far, so it's been very promising. So it's not a guaranteed fix, but it's something you might want to try before going to the dealership or replacing the window regulator. Well, if you found this video helpful, please like and subscribe.